I'm delighted to be here, and especially with Chris. I'm going to tell a really quick story about what drawing can do. And my guess is that anybody who's here is here because they're interested in drawing and writing and all this thing that we call the arts, even if you've given up on it. It's amazing how fast we give up on it. I remember being about 9, and there was a thing on TV about ballerinas, and it was like, if you wish to be a ballerina, you must begin by the age of 3. I was like, damn. And then you find it over and over again. Concert pianist, if you want to do this, you know, even I always wondered if I was a writer, and I would hear writers talk, and they'd say stuff like, I began writing novels very early. I was in the womb with my developing fingers and on the placenta. You know, it's like, I didn't feel like there was any part of me that indicated that I was an artist. But I had always heard that thing that when you see great art or experience great art, you burst into tears. Remember that? Remember hearing that? At about the same time you heard that an opera singer could hit a note and blow up a glass, right? So you'd be alone, nobody's around, you're in the kitchen with your milk mug, nothing blows up. And I always wanted to burst into tears when I saw great art, and there was a really cute dude near me, and he'd go, oh, she's so sensitive, I must have that. It didn't have to be a dude or even a person, just somebody that noticed I burst into tears with my sensitivity. So I went to I traveled in Europe, and I went to the Uffizi Gallery. I was traveling by myself, miserable. I thought, when people, yeah, I go to Europe by myself, so I thought if I went to Europe by myself, I'd be happy like everybody else, but I wasn't. I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm scared. And I went in, I was at the Uffizi, and there was a Botticelli painting, and I was looking at it, you know, there was a cute dude right here, right? So I'm like trying really hard to burst into tears. And I was able to get one tear out on this side, and I was kind of like... But that didn't work out. And then I had the real experience, and I just wanted to tell you about that, because if you hold my work in any kind of esteem, I'm about to change that for you right now by telling you that Chris and art, they are my favorite, but my real favorite cartoonist of all time is Bill Keane, who drew Family Circus. I love Bill Keane, partially because I grew up in a very difficult household. I grew up in the opposite of Family Circus. There was a lot of trouble in my house, and before I could read, I remember looking in that circle and thinking, that shit looks good. I mean, you know, there's Dolly and PJ and Jeffy, and Mom's gonna hand Billy a letter to mail, and we'll watch him. And then the dead grandparents are looking down going, yeah, Billy, you know, you did that good. And then, when I got a little older, the dog's name was Barfy, so I thought, oh, there's a hip element in here that nobody's talking about. So I went to a convention that was the real cartoonists, you know, when the alternative cartoonists started being allowed to be mixed in with the real cartoonists. And I remember, I was just blown away. There's the guy that draws Beetle Bailey, right? There's Wizard of Id Dude, you know, and then I saw Kathy. Now, here's the thing you need to know about Kathy, is Kathy is really slender, really pretty, okay? And when I saw her and I saw what she really looked like I wanted to knock her down and strangle her so that the last words she'd hear were, you've been making your living off of women with asses like mine for too long. And so, right around that time, somebody comes up to me and says, well, Bill Keane doesn't draw this strip anymore. Jeff Keane draws the strip now, his son, Jeffy, the real Jeffy. So somebody said, Lynda, you like Family Circus, right? And I said, yeah, I do. And they said, well, this is Jeff Keane. And I went, oh! It was nothing that would make anyone want to make out with me. I started shaking, I was drooling, I was moving toward him, he's backing up like, you know, this shit has never happened to him before. And I couldn't even talk. And so I actually hid behind a potted plant, which wasn't even that big. And I was like, just get it together, man. Get it together, get it together. But every time I'd look at him, I would burst into tears. And it became the joke of the festival to just walk him slowly into my work. But I realized that why I had burst into tears was because when I shook his hand, I realized I had come through that circle. That circle that I looked through since I was a kid, I had come through it. And how I did it was by drawing a picture. And the whole reason I'm standing here right now is because I drew a picture. And the reason y'all are here right now is because you have an interest in that same sort of thing. And that's where my work has started to turn toward what the biological function of this thing we may call the arts may be, and what role does it play in our real lives versus being published and being in gallery. So I'll just show you some pictures here. I'm in that picture. See if you can find me. This is me and my cousins. I grew up in a Filipino family. My mom married somebody with apparently some Norwegian blood, so that it sucked the color out of me personally. But I grew up in a family where storytelling was my little grandma was the way that that Filipino grandmas get their kids to mind. So here's an example. Lynda, you know, when you're born, God has made a castle for you in heaven. It's made out of gold bricks. Oh, it's beautiful. But every time you are naughty, he takes one break. And Lynda, your castle is getting very small. Okay? Or it would be Lynda, you know, there is in the Philippines, there is a vampire. It's called an aswang. No, this is a beautiful, well, during the day she's a dog, but at night, she's a beautiful woman. My God, you look at her, oh, she's so beautiful. But she has a trick, she can take her legs up and fly through the air. And immediately I'm thinking, yeah, well, can we talk about the legs? Like, where are they? Leaning against something? Are they lying down? Do they need to move? It's just, she's flying through the air. And she comes from the Philippines to America. She's coming to our house. You know, sometimes we're watching the TV, it's jumping. She's on the antenna. And she comes, you're going to sleep, that's fine. You go to sleep, everybody's asleep. And she comes down the roof. And she looks for the door. And she can slip in even a small crack. She slips in. Then she's crawling on the ceiling. She's looking for your room, Lynda. She's looking. Oh, she finds it. Now she's over your bed. Oh, she has a long tongue with a needle at the end. And she puts it down to put it in you, to suck your blood, because you don't pick up your clothes. Which I think started my lifelong love of monsters, and now I just leave clothes everywhere. So here's just some recent work. This is from my notebook. And I'm going to talk a little bit about poetry, which I always know makes people feel a little bit sick in their stomach, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Poems can make you see the world you are in as if it could be read like poetry. That is to say, there's a meaning way of looking as seeing that is new, and something looking back now, alive with you in view, that wants to swallow you. When images come to us, where do they come from? This is from my book, What It Is, but I'm mixing up a whole bunch of stuff here. Why do they exist? I believe they are the soul's immune system and transit system. This question of what is an image has been like the main question that I've been struggling with. Since I was 19, my teacher asked me this question, and it actually has turned out to be another thing that has directed my life. And the easiest way for me to explain what an image is, it's not just a picture. I'd say it's the thing that we call the arts. All of them contain an image, and then I would say any object that a child is really attached to also contains an image. But the best way is to show you what it feels like. So I want you to think of your first phone number, because I'm going to count to 3 and we're just going to say our first phone numbers out loud, okay? 1, 2, 3. PA 24435. I see you cool people not wanting to do it. Give it a try. You won't know what an image is until you say it out loud. So 1, 2, 3. PA 24435. All right, now your phone number from 3 phone numbers ago. Can you feel it? It's almost like you can feel a physical difference. And actually, if we were doing a functional fMRI on your brain right now, you would see a completely different signature for that first phone number and the third phone number. The third phone number is thinking. The first phone number is this spontaneous event. That what I love doing about it, why I love to talk about it, is because I can see everybody after they say their first phone number. This is what people do. They go. And then you look at each other like, oh, I know, me too. Like, what the hell is that? Social Security number. First phone number. So an image, that's one thing, that's what an image, that's one thing an image is that it feels alive. And I also think it is absolutely connected to our physical and emotional health, and that's the work I'm doing. I teach at the University of Wisconsin now, and I'm working with scientists to try to start to understand the biological function of the image. But I'll talk a little bit more about that.